Hello, I thought I'd read through an article. I've just at the moment read the headline. Bishops who hide abuse should resign, says Pennsylvania prelate. This is an article in the Catholic Herald, and I'll leave a link in the description below. Now, it is my opinion that I don't know what this article will say, but wherever in the church this is found, a bishop, a priest, a cardinal who has covered up abuse, it is my opinion they should not just resign, they should face prosecution. You have hurt the most innocent in our society. You may have driven them from the church. You have certainly destroyed their lives. You have no right to call yourself a bishop, call yourself a cardinal, call yourself a priest. You should face jail. I have no sympathy for the animals who have hurt little children. And I have almost less sympathy for those who covered it up, because you are worse. You've not just hurt the victim, but you've basically belittled them. You've supported that act. You disgust me. So let's see what this article says. But whatever this article says, I think we as Catholics need to be harder on the bishops, cardinals, priests, whoever covers this crap up. They need to be called out. There's too many good priests, bishops, cardinals who are being attacked for being bishops, priests, cardinals because of animals who have hurt children. They cannot do their job of salvation because they are tainted by the scum who have hurt children. Let's read this article and see what it says. And I'm hoping I'm going to be saying a bravo at the end of this, that finally the church and members of the church, the clergy, are speaking out, or speaking louder. I may pronounce the name wrong, but let's see. Bishop Lawrence Persico of Erie said bishops who cover up abuse must go. Yes, they must. Bishops who knew about abuse and did nothing should resign, the Bishop of Erie said. In an interview with EWTN, Bishop Lawrence Persico, if I pronounced the name wrong, I apologize, bravo Bishop, said the only way to regain the trust of the laity after decades-long claims of sexual abuse by priests and others at 6 Pennsylvania dioceses is by deeds. This should not just be for Pennsylvania. This should say the United States. This should say the world. Wherever there is a diocese, wherever there is a church, this should be the case. If you have abused children and covered it up, you gotta go. If you call yourself a Catholic, if you call yourself a Christian, and you have done this, if you have covered it up, you should publicly state it and go. Otherwise, I fear for your soul, because you are saying you're turning your back on God. You have abused children. Covering up, you are just as guilty. I think they should go, Bishop Persico answered. I think we need complete transparency if we're going to gain the trust of the laity back. We have to be able to demonstrate it. Bishop Persico was the only bishop who met in person with members of a grand jury investigating the Guidos claims of abuse at 6 Pennsylvania dioceses. It is an explosive report. The grand jury said it identified more than 1,000 who said they were victimized as children by priests and other church workers in the state. Jesus. Only bishop who met in person. Where, I don't know how many bishops are in Pennsylvania. I imagine there are more than one. Where were the others? I've been saying we can talk about transparency and truth, but it is going to depend upon our deeds. How do we carry out that transparency? How do we carry out that transparency out, and how do we act moving forward? He said during the TV interview. Pardon? Apologies. He said during the TV interview. That's going to be key in all of this, and we have to show that we mean what we're saying. Bishop Persicio's Diocese of Erie, as well as the Diocese of Harrisburg, Allenstown, Scranton, Pittsburgh, and Greensburg were named in the report released on August 14th after an investigation of almost 2 years. Okay. I don't know what the process is in the United States, but the bishops of Harrisburg, Allentown, Scranton, Pittsburgh, and Greensburg, were they called before the jury? Were they all the bishops asked to appear? I don't know what the case is, but if they were, if it was up to the church to send representatives, all of those bishops should have shown up and should have had the balls to say what Bishop Persicchio said. Should have had the, just being Christian and said it. Apologize for what has happened. Promise to change and actually do it. Look at all the allegations. Now, I'm not saying that the allegations should be made public. Actually, I reject that. The accusations should be brought to the police. The police should investigate, and if found guilty, or if there is enough evidence to bring forward a charge, then maybe make it public. If found innocent, it should be broadcast that there's been false allegations brought against. This hurts the true allegations. But if found guilty, their names should be emblazoned on papers, should be read from church pulpits and saying, "We are sorry, this is unforgivable." And give that person found guilty a chance to redeem their soul by owning up to what they did and trying to make amends by facing prison and apologizing. Apologies won't do much good, but they are a start. Okay. A grand jury does not determine guilt or innocence, but whether there is enough evidence or probable cause to support a criminal charge. Almost all cases in the report were too old for charges to be filed, and many of the 301 priests named are dead or no longer in ministry. But Catholic laity have been insisting on some form of accountability for those who have known of and hidden the abuse. Yes, that is the case. And I still think there should be an investigation into those priests. And those bishops who haven't covered up should approach those priests and question them. And tell them in confession. And if you are Catholic, you know the importance thereof. Place your hand on the Bible and confess your sins. if they refuse to confess and they are guilty of that crime, then they are beyond redemption. Almost. No one's beyond redemption, actually, but if they really are priests, if they really do care about the collar they wore, they will admit. And the penance can be admit. Come forward and admit. And spend your remaining days in repentance for what you did. Let's continue with the article. We need this transparency, and we also need action, so that if there are other bishops or leaders who are negligent, then they need to be removed, because the more we cover up, the less credibility we have, said Bishop Persicchio. Bishop Persicchio said. It's more than that. It's much more than that. Credibility means, in this world, credibility is, might mean something. But you're dealing with, if you believe in God, you are much more than just negligent. We need action as our okay. It needs to be a very proactive thing. You need to look and root out all cases. All things need to be investigated, and all allegations need to be brought to the secular authorities. Yes, the secular authorities, many are very hostile to the church. And when you see things like this, you can understand a little bit why. But if you let the secular authorities deal with it, there is credibility. And you know what? If those hostile people, and I will deal with them in another video, but if they find you innocent, then it's almost certain you really are innocent. And you can say that. If even your enemies call you innocent, that's something. But we need to protect children. We need to protect the vulnerable. We need to protect the faith, because it's scumbags, and I'm sorry, but shitheads who have covered up this degenerate bastards. They need to be driven out of the clergy. They need to be put in prison. I'm angry here. And the more I read about these things, the more angry I'll probably get. And this, I'm almost certain, will not be my last video. Let's continue. I apologize, my reading is not great. I've not read out loud since I was in secondary school. Let's see. He said it was important to note that the report documented 70 years of abuse, most of it from the 70s into the 1990s. Following the sex abuse crisis in 2000 in the US, the country's bishops approved procedures and protocols addressing all allegations of abuse in 2002. There's less abuse since then, Bishop Persicchio said, but we still have to be on guard. You know what? One case is too many. And no matter how old the case is, it needs to be dealt with. Because you've got to give, you know what? Even if that person is elderly, now, that victim can find some solace if if the church comes back and says, you were abused, we are sorry what they did to you. And you know what? If reparations monetarily have to be made and it takes all the wealth of the church to make them, then so be it. We have to stop this. It has to stop. Let's see. In an interview with CNN's New Day news show on Friday, Bishop Timothy Doherty of Lafayette in Indiana, who is chairman of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops' Committee for the Protection of Children and Young People, answered questions about how it was possible that abuse seems to continue. Allegations of sexual abuse by former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick came to light this summer. The procedures have come under fire because they contained no provisions for holding bishops accountable, leading many to ask whether they are enough because the church continues to deal with similar situations. That's a bit stupid, and in fact I go with that in any organization. If you're allowing criminal activity and knowingly allowing it so, you need to be held accountable. Whatever that activity is. I think all the bishops are asking that question, and part of it is there isn't a great explanation, said Bishop Doherty on the news show. We're still looking at the facts here. I could speak for bishops of my era, and I know we came in without knowing much about this, and having great trust in our church and people that we work with. So it is devastating. Yes, it is. But I'd say boo-hoo for your feelings. You need to deal with this. And allegations need to be brought to the police. Maybe a task force could be set up where it is filtered, where spurious claims are dealt with. And you know what? I'd place just as great an emphasis on dealing with false claims and hunting those people down as I do with abusers, because those false claims hurt the abused as much as the bishops who covered it up. And they need to be hunted down, and you know what? They need to be just the same as the abusers need to be named in public, utterly shamed, and placed in the same category as the abusers. Because if you're covering up, because if you're making a false claim of abuse because you think you'll get money or fame or notoriety or hurt the church, you are an abuser. You are undermining those who are abused, and you are just as guilty as the abusers. And you need to be held accountable too. I find any action that hurts the innocent absolutely abhorrent. It's why I'm pro-life. It's why I'm against the death penalty. I believe in the integrity of life from conception to natural death. Let's see. Let's continue with the article because I think I'm near the end. Because this has come out in public, a light has been shone on part of the culture that allowed this to happen, and there is a great resolve to never let it happen again, he said. I gotta ask, with assholes who were bishops and cardinals who've kept this silent, if a light had not been shone, if it had not become public, would they have done anything about it? And even with the light being shining on it, how much are they doing? Now, there is a big effort, and I know here in Ireland there is a huge effort being made to protect children, and the Catholic Church is probably now one of the safest places for children to be, even more so than in many secular organisations who have bitched about the church. But here are my final thoughts. As I said, I'm pretty bad at reading out things, but as time goes on I will improve. Having read this article, my anger is no less. The bishops are right, and I've probably pronounced that man's name wrong. Bishop Persicchio. And I've probably pronounced it 8 different ways during the reading, but I apologise. Is right. If a bishop has covered up anything, if a priest has covered up anything, if a cardinal has covered up anything, they have to go, and they have to go now. I ask you to, in this case, you know what? Place your comments below, and I ask for your support. Call out, ask and demand that allegations be brought to the secular authorities. Those who have covered up and shown to have covered up, as bishops, as cardinals, sorry isn't good enough. You have to go. No mercy on your job. I'll have mercy. Mercy should be found. Mercy should be shown on your soul. But the fact you lose your job is not something I'm going to lose any sleep over. If you've covered up abuse, you've got to go. If you've covered up abuse and if you claim to be Catholic, as a bishop, I hope you are, then what you should and you have to do is resign before you're removed. And say, all you need to do is, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought the abuse was spurious, and I didn't bring it to the attention of the police. You apologize, and you resign. If you want to save the church, that is what you have to do. If you want to make amends for the evil that has been done, that is what you've got to do. You can pray to God and ask for forgiveness. Ask those children who were abused. Well, whoops. Cover the horror they suffered. You've got to make amends, and you've got to resign. So, I'm going to bring this video to an end. So please, I often say it when a video covers a difficult subject, should you really like it? But I'll ask you to nonetheless hit the like button on this if you support what I'm saying here. Bishops, priests, anyone connected in the church who knowingly covered up abuse need to go. Need to go now. If you currently know of abuse, or if you currently have heard of an accusation, this accusation needs to be brought to the police. Leave them investigate, and if there is a charge to be answered, it needs to be made public. And I also add, if a false accusation has been made, the accuser needs to be made public, because the false accuser is just as guilty as an abuser, because they're treating the abused with the same contempt. Thank you for listening to this. Please, if you haven't already, please like this video. please comment below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you for listening, and I'll make another video soon. Keep an eye out. As I said, if you subscribe, also hit the bell icon so you'll receive all new posts to this channel. And thank you, and God bless.